Hey everyone, you've made it to Authentic Story Making. This is the C.S. Lewis book tag. Let's get started. So this tag was created by Book Nerd Katri. Her link is in the description, and she tagged me in her video. And as soon as I saw the title, I knew that this was going to be an awesome tag. C.S. Lewis is one of my all-time favorite authors. He just had this gift to write theology and convey points in a very understandable way through similes, through stories, through allegories, portray and illustrate truth in layman's terms, but still also able to maintain a poetic sense in his writing, which is like the perfect balance in my opinion. Whenever I read C.S. Lewis writings, I feel like I'm just feasting on a banquet of quality ideas, wholesome ideas, truth that is being written by someone with many layers of wisdom behind him. And his books both challenge and inspire me in so many ways. I don't necessarily agree with 100% of everything I read in his books, but I appreciate his honesty, his humility, and his humor. And because I respect him so much as a man of faith, I try to always reasonably consider all the points that he brings out in his books. I love how he makes me think about things. All right, let's get right down to the tag. The first question is, what was the first C.S. Lewis book that you read? So I grew up listening to audiobooks, just a single voice narration of the Chronicles of Narnia. So that was definitely the way I was introduced to C.S. Lewis. Even though I wasn't reading physical copies of the books, it was a word-for-word audiobook. If I want to answer this question as literally as possible, the first hard copy that I actually read, that I remember, was The Great Divorce. And that was probably my late teens to early 20s, and my dad recommended it to me, and so I picked that up, and honestly, I don't remember a whole lot from it. A lot of it went way over my head, and so that is one I would like to reread at some point. Question number 2 is, how many C.S. Lewis books do I own, if any? And I do own some. So I have 9 personal copies that I can call my own. And it is 9 and counting because I just the other day picked up The Magician's Nephew. I'm going to start rereading the Chronicles of Narnia. It's been a lot of years since I have done so. But I bought the first book, and I will be buying the whole series as I read it. So that's going to be 7 right there. And then I've got another 8 that I already own. And I'm currently on vacation, and we're going to be hitting up a lot of used bookstores. So I'm hoping that this stack is going to grow exponentially. This one is just poems. I got that for Christmas one year. And then I have Till We Have Faces. I just read this for the first time this year, and I got a lot out of this book. If I ever find older vintage copies, I will definitely buy them. I also have this old copy of A Grief Observed. And I read this one, it was over 7 years ago when my grandpa passed away. And I picked this book up, and it really helped me grow through a time of grieving. This is one I have not read yet. I kind of inherited it from my dad. It's called The Four Loves. I'm not quite sure how good it is. I've never read it. I've got the Space Trilogy here. Read that for the first time last year. My mom bought me these copies. And then the Screw Tape Letters. So those are the ones I own, and it's definitely growing. Question number 3, what Narnia book is your favorite and why? And yeah, so again, I grew up reading and listening to the series, and I always told everyone that my favorite was The Last Battle. I'm really interested to see which one is going to be my favorite after this reread, but for now, the old standby was The Last Battle. And the reason for that, I loved the end times, return of Christ, coming into heaven allegory that was throughout the book. One of my grandpa's favorite studies was eschatology, and he taught on it a lot. So growing up, the second coming was a central theme in my upbringing. So I just loved the whole concept of the return of Christ and the culmination of all things. Because that allegory was there in The Last Battle, it was my favorite. Question 4 is, who is your favorite character in C.S. Lewis's fiction? I think my favorite character has always been Edmund. and mainly because of his redemption arc. There's his story of starting out with such failure and struggle and disloyalty, and then being redeemed and becoming the heroic character that he is in later books. I just very much identified and loved that theme. Since the movies came out, there's a couple character differences in the movies, and specifically in the Prince Caspian movie, and this is probably a very unpopular opinion, at least in the circles that I am used to being in. The second two movies, Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, were not very well received just because they strayed so much from the books. In the last 7 years in my own life, the story of Peter that was in Prince Caspian, the movie, really started to become relatable to me. Just the way that Peter had this wrestle with the way things had played out in his story, and the way he wrestled with the character of Aslan himself, and the questions that he had as to why certain things happened the way they did. And he had some low moments. I feel very much that through recent years in my own walk of faith, I can very much identify with the struggles of Peter in the movie. And so he has become also one of my very favorite characters. And he was very good in the books as well. But just the struggles that he went through and the questions that he went through in the movie, I just found very encouraging to my own faith, that we can walk through those kind of questions and still come out stronger on the other side. And again, as I'm rereading it, I'm excited to see if there's any characters that pop up that I don't even remember, or I don't remember being that cool. We'll see. Question number 5 is, what is one of your favorite C.S. Lewis quotes? And of course it's titled, what is one of your favorites? Because C.S. Lewis is so quotable. He has so many nuggets of wisdom, but I think the one that sticks with me the most as I prepared for this video, and I don't even know what book it's from, but I saw it on Pinterest, and it is, I want God, not my idea of God. Kind of like I was touching on in the previous question about the struggles of Peter. In the last 5 to 7 years of my own life, my walk of faith, I have been discovering the true character of God and who he really is, and found that there are many ideas of God that I had growing up that were skewed in some way. They weren't quite who God was. And the person of God that I am discovering daily is so much more beautiful and awesome and inspiring to me than I ever would have thought. And so I'm happy that there are things I was wrong about God, because he is so much better than I always thought. I want God, not my idea of God. Question 6. Is there anything about his works of fiction or nonfiction that you don't fully agree with? And I know there are things as I read that I do question and I'm not sure 100% about, but I know the main one that comes to my mind for this tag, it came up recently because I never knew that C.S. Lewis actually believed this. I learned that C.S. Lewis believed in evolution. It took millions of years for the earth to be created, and it wasn't a literal 6 days. And I was very surprised when I learned that. It's something that I grew up believing and being taught in a literal 6-day creation based out of the Bible. But recently, I've had Christian friends who do not believe that. They believe, due to science, millions of years. And they reconcile it with the Bible. And so I spent some recent months really digging into this because I wanted to know, is it congruent with the Bible? What does science actually say? Turns out there's a lot of teachers and biblical scholars that I greatly respect that believe in millions of years of evolution and not a literal 6 days of creation. Coming through it on the other side now, feeling like I've done a lot of research, and I'm not like a closed book at this point, but I haven't changed my opinion after all the research. I still think 6 days matches up with everything biblical. The scientific side of it is so uncertain and debatable, and without trying to, bring the whole debate out on this video, that's not my intent. But just to say that I've done a lot of research on it lately, and I haven't been able to change my opinion that it is literal 6 days. So I was kind of disappointed that C.S. Lewis believed in evolution. So everyone, that is the C.S. Lewis book tag. Thank you, K-Tree, for tagging me, for creating it, and it was a good one. Anything to do with C.S. Lewis, I enjoy. Thank you everyone for tuning in and watching today. I really appreciate all of the views and comments and subscriptions. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend and week, and we'll see you on the next video.